Addendum 48677.
King's Quest first chapter came as a big surprise to me this year. Even with no attachment to the series, I found myself completely enthralled with its story and characters. I loved the fairy tale vibe I got from the world, as well as the humor and color that came with it. Lasting around 6 hours, the first chapter left me feeling satisfied while still planting the seeds for future installments. Rubble Without a Cause is finally here, and while it still contains much of what I loved about the first chapter, it stumbles a bit through a disappointingly short runtime.
Wait, what? I'm not sure I like this.
Sire, Kyle and Larry would like to know if they can host their music night in the throne room.
Well,
Miss Madeline and her court wish to seek an audience with you.
I'm not...
Should we send in first to deal with the goblins?
Can I wear your crown?
Rubble Without a Cause picks up with Graham dealing with his usual duties as king. There's a short intro sequence where you're forced to rapidly make decisions regarding major issues facing the kingdom. It's clear from the start that Graham's having a difficult time keeping up with all of the tasks required of him. I would have liked to see this opening section expanded upon a little more. It's great setup for where the story in this chapter will eventually lead, but it's over far too quickly.
Which addendum should we enact next?
Addendum? No.
Oh, goblin strategy seems to be failing.
I think...
Are we observing ice cream for breakfast day this year?
The story this time around kicks off with the capture of King Graham and fellow townsfolk by the goblins. Almost the entirety of this chapter takes place in the goblin caves, which of course leads to a little less visual variety compared to the first chapter. Rubble Without a Cause is about half the size of A Night to Remember, and considering how long the wait has been, that's a little disappointing. At the same time, it's nice to see almost no reused areas and puzzles that feel quite different from before.
Just a bit more strength, and I would be able to do that.
There's a moment early on where King Graham speaks about the regret he still feels towards the passing of a good friend. This, combined with the pressures of being king, helped drive the overarching puzzle design in this chapter. While trapped in the goblin caves, you and all other prisoners are quite weak and need food to survive. While solving puzzles, you have to decide how to ration out food on a daily basis. While it's possible to save everyone, it's likely that mistakes will be made on a first playthrough. There's a balancing act between keeping your friends healthy while also taking care of yourself. Graham needs strength to solve certain puzzles, but not sharing the daily supply of food could prove fatal for someone. The game leads you to believe that characters can die, and that puts a lot of weight on your shoulders. It's an interesting change from Chapter 1, where decision-making wasn't as pivotal. Then again, all of this is essentially made pointless by the end of the chapter. Most of the puzzles tie into the time mechanic, and they work well because of it. I really like the idea of rationing food, and it helps if this happens with people we've met before. These are all characters from the first chapter that I've grown to like. I want to save them. Watching a body get carried away on a stretcher while old King Graham talks about being a bad king is really effective. I guess it makes sense that these characters won't actually die, but that does lessen the impact a little bit.
So...
Ah, rats!
It's not as colorful or as big as the first entry, but Rubble Without a Cause still contains much of what I've loved about A Night to Remember. There's great characters, puzzles, some cool fairy tale references, and most importantly, there's still just a lot of heart. I just wish it didn't end so soon.
That's a lot of presents for a broken arm.
Yes, well, it certainly wasn't my most graceful tumble, and I am sorry I missed your fencing tournament.
There's another one next weekend.
I wouldn't miss it, even if Kyle has to carry me. Are you afraid of the storm, dear? Or your own imagination?
No, I'm not afraid of anything.
Ah, well, since neither of us can sleep, want to hear a story about a time when I was definitely not in any way afraid of anything either?
Does it have a dragon?
It might. It was a treacherous evening, just like tonight. As an adventurer, a goblin kidnapping would have been a fun romp. But as a new king, it was terrifying.